Okay, I think we should be live. Hi, Evan.
Cool. Hey, what's up, Mike?
Not a lot. How are you?
Hey, pretty good. I guess we're checking to see if this is live, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna do
Yes.
that awkward thing that you always do when you do a live video,
Yeah.
where you have to check.
Someone's in the background.
Oh, looks like we're
We are.
live. I see.
I'll
I see
share
us.
that.
Um, yeah. So, and I have now the audio going nicely. Sorry.
Cool.
Hi everybody. Okay, I got it sorted out. Hi everyone. Welcome to episode 12 of this Messy Desk concert conversation experiment series thing that I'm doing. I'm very excited to have Evan Taucher here. Did I say your name right?
You did. That's
Oh,
great. That's how my
perfect.
family says it, but it's wrong to German, so I
Okay.
apologize.
Taucher, then, I guess. Yes, it's great to have Evan here. I'm very excited. Um, and for all of you viewing, please tell me if anything's weird with the audio levels. If like I'm too loud or Evan's too loud or vice versa, just let me know. Um, and also please hit the like and the share button. That would be appreciated. And Evan, why don't you just tell people a little bit about yourself before you play us some music?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Evan. I like playing guitar. Um, I like to kind of be a foot in both worlds, as far as the performing world and competition world, and then also in the social media world and content producing world. And I feel like it's kind of fun to do both of those things, and also it works out nicely with meeting a lot of people, and it's a good time. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Of course, we're all in this time where we're making music from home and trying to collaborate with people. Of course, like Mike and his podcast, and it's been a really nice time and an interesting time to see everyone switching to the online world and see how that works out. And actually, I think it's going to be a good thing for all of us here. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's a very positive outlook. Um,
yeah,
awesome. Well, you're going to play some You Bets, right? So do you want to tell the audience a little bit about that or just play? It's up
sure,
to you.
yeah. Just gonna play a couple of folk tunes arranged by Yobet, Catalan folk tunes. The first one I'll play is Testament de Emili, and then it'll sort of flow seamlessly into Canso de Yadre. It stands for Song of the Thief.
Ooh, exciting. All
Yes.
right.
I'll back up just a little bit here. And also, I think I'll take off my headphones.
Yeah, maybe a good idea.
Let me switch my audio over to my computer here. There we go.
Beautiful. Wonderful.
Um,
Nice.
it's kind of nice to get back to playing some repertoire. Sorry, excuse me while I'm scooting forward here and struggling to remember it all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm preparing for an exam, but it's a weird experience preparing for an exam and not having like, you know, studio classes and things and like people to see to play for. So,
Yeah, totally.
yeah. Or I guess any kind of performance you have to get ready for, it's just different now.
Yeah, yeah, a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most interesting thing we've been noticing, or I've been noticing, is that applause and how people react to the lack thereof.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And just the way that you interact with the audience is really an interesting different thing. In some ways it's more interactive because you can actually see what people are writing and see comments afterwards and things like this, but in a lot of ways less interactive because you don't see their faces or you don't hear anything.
Yeah, you don't kind of get that visceral physical feedback.
Yeah,
Um,
so
yeah, it's interesting to see how people react to it. I have a feeling that maybe people who are used to playing more concerts more frequently and bigger concerts, kind of is weirder for them. Maybe, I mean, I was watching a live stream with Roshan, and obviously he was doing great. He was playing awesome, but like he seemed so like confused afterwards after he played because he's just like he's probably used to like really enthusiastic audiences because of how good his playing is. So it just must be different for him, I imagine.
yeah, people just haven't figured out how to do the cheesy sitcom clap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There, they just got to throw those into the live streams and
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah, I should get a clapping track. I get laugh track and clap track for my stream.
Oh, a laugh track would be really awkward. You finish the piece, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
a whole crowd of people laughing.
Um,
Impressive.
yeah. Although I think I need the laugh track more just for all the ridiculous things people say on this show. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you told us a little bit about what you're about, which I really liked. That you kind of frame yourself in terms of like what you like doing. But can you tell us about your background too, like sort of how you started with guitar and what your journey has been in a summary, kind of?
Sure. Yeah. I started on classical piano, and I started when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I didn't really discover guitar after a bunch of other instruments by going through band and orchestral stuff when I was in middle school and elementary all the way through high school, really. But I didn't really start playing guitar until high school, and that was electric guitar. All my friends were playing, and I just wanted to try what they were doing. And that was just such a fun thing because, there were no rules compared to, the band program where we were, only allowed to play the music really that we were, like the books that they used or, the program that we were working through. And guitar was really fun in that way. And then electric guitar phased into classical for me because I started to sort of dislike the culture of pedal boards and amps and pickups. And I say dislike the culture, but I was a big part of it. Like I enjoyed that kind of stuff. But I started enjoying it so much, so I was thinking like more about the tone and the pedals and all the cool effects. And I was starting to think about that more than the actual music I felt. And I was writing music then, and I just remember most of the discussions were about like what new pedal or amp was coming out, instead of
How the playing was, or
yeah. And I think that sort of started getting me wanting to do those things myself, and acoustic guitar started to become something I was interested in. And then really quickly after that, I discovered classical guitar because, of course, all the finger style stuff kind of a lot of those people have classical backgrounds, and then the way YouTube works is like, it suggests you all these other things. And
yeah.
but then I started taking lessons on classical, actually, after my first year of my undergraduate. So,
Yeah, I didn't have the same journey in the sense that I actually started playing guitar after the first year of my undergraduate degree. But I went straight to classical, so I was starting in university, basically. But I also felt like the other musical things I did before I appreciated, but what I appreciated about the guitar when I came to the guitar was just the control over sound, came to classical guitar, I should say. Like that was a big thing for me too, was like feeling like this instrument I have like direct control over the color, direct control
right.
over the intonation, and it's me making it, not some effect or whatever. Yeah. I mean, of course, the guitar
maybe
matters.
it's like a selfish drive or something, but I was just so fascinated with the idea of, well, just seeing my friends that could do it at first, like someone that could play a bass line at the same time as anything else, you know?
Right.
Oh my gosh, so you can have this one note ringing while there's a bass line going on. That was so cool to me because I'd spend so much time tracking different recordings and stuff, just playing the bass line and then playing a guitar part on top of it. And
Mm-hmm.
doing that on your own was so fascinating.
Yeah, although it's important to point out that there are electric guitarists who do that too, but they are a
Oh,
rare species, I guess.
more so nowadays, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, even within like metal, there's so many more like progressive metal guitarists who are doing like hybrid picking and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe that approach to playing is just naturally kind of occurring in other genres of guitar because it's becoming more, well, the level's getting higher. So
Yeah, there's kind of like a resurgence of instrumental music.
yeah, that too. Yeah,
So, yeah, that's causing people to do more things with their instruments that are interesting.
yeah, for sure. Cool. And then you did an undergrad. Did you do your undergrad with Renee in Milwaukee, or were you somewhere else first?
With Bruce Holzman at Florida State.
Okay. So you're
Yeah,
with Bruce,
I'm at Renee.
and then you're with Renee for a master's. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And are you studying? Are you now doing a diploma or something? What?
Yeah, I'm doing artist diploma at UT Austin with Adam Holzman.
Oh, okay, so you've been with both the brothers.
Yeah, man, the Holzman shuffle.
Yeah, there's a couple of people I know who've done that, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, they're completely opposite people and personalities,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, when
it's
I
really,
was at Domaine Forget and they were both there, their classes were completely different, so it was great.
right.
Yeah, cool, awesome. And now you're doing a lot. Well, I mean, guess because of coronavirus, you're just online now. But before this, you were still playing a lot of concerts, but you were also doing a lot of online content and stuff too, right? Like, what are your projects like these days, or what were they before the situation put some on hold?
Yeah, I know it's strange to think back. It feels like forever ago now. But the yeah, I was playing a lot of concerts. I had just finished up a concert and a little group of concerts in Grand Rapids and Sarasota concert series, and um, I'm forgetting a lot of places.
But you were playing a lot of shows and stuff.
Well, yeah, in Madison Classical Guitar Society. Yeah, I was doing a lot of those and mixing in a few competitions too. And I'd only been back from Spain at that time for about 6 months because I'd spent 6 months in Alicante, Spain, and then I came back to United States and I started playing some concerts. And of course, just like you and me and everyone else, had a bunch of things canceled because of coronavirus.
Yeah. But you
So
already had, I mean, at least you had somewhat of an online profile built. Like, I feel like a lot of people are starting from ground zero in that way, you know.
sure. Yeah.
So,
Well, it's been my focus of this artist diploma degree to well, I'll explain. I was at this turning point where I wanted to either do a doctorate or an artist diploma or just no degree at all.
hmm
'Cause I felt like, well, one thing is I felt like with schoolwork on top of, you know, social media, concerts, and promotional things, every trying to make money and a living for yourself. Between all those things, like something has to be very poor. Like one of those things isn't going to work out.
yeah.
And I was feeling like jumping into a doctorate was just going to be more of the same, if not more intense than a master's.
Yeah.
And in that, if you're doing a doctorate, hopefully you want to like actually study the thing that you're researching and you want to be there.
Yeah.
Rather,
I want to avoid like ever doing the like kind of obligatory doctorate that I feel like sometimes happens, you know, not to call
yeah,
people out, but just like sometimes I get the sense that some classical musicians just end up doing another degree because they feel like they need more training, which is true for all of us forever, you know,
yeah,
but at the same time, like it's kind of, yeah, like you said, for me, it's usually a question of like, well, what is this? How does this actually serve me, you know? And
right.
I think some people do more school than probably they need to. I don't know, in the classical music world, yeah.
Yeah, well, nowadays there's so many ways to study with people that isn't necessarily in a degree program. So
hmm
that's not super necessary. But yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, the doctorate is the right choice and the logical next step. But
Of course, yeah.
then, I don't know. For me, I felt like I was so excited to be able to have some extra time to not only continue studying, no doubt, improving,
hmm
but have some extra time to dedicate to projects.
Yeah.
Um, always at the forefront of what I want to do is perform. But if all I have is, if I have to perform, I have to do a doctorate and I have to do social media and other stuff, something's not going to go well. I'm not going to be able to have enough time. So the idea of the artist diploma was try to like do both of the things and do it at a better level than I was doing it before.
Yeah, I think it's better to combine everything. Like for my research for my master's, which I just finally defended the final project, but it had to do with, how composers and guitarists collaborate, and I had 2 pieces I commissioned through it, and I did a tour with Nathan Bredesen, and I made a whole project out of it that actually happened in real life and had to do with my business,
Sure, yeah.
So that was nice, because in the end, I had to do some extra writing, some extra interviewing, a lot of extra hours at the computer just on the research aspect, but at the same time, at least I was able to use it concretely,
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know what? That's a thing that's not so prevalent right now, because a lot of people are with professors that suggest them to do something like a thesis on Baroque trills because you played some Scarlatti and some Bach. And while that is super useful, it's not the same as, well, I joke about that because I didn't have that option to do something different. I had to write a paper.
Right, yeah. I'm very lucky that in the Netherlands they're super open-ended about master's projects. They're like, you don't have to write a paper, you can if you want, but you can also make a recording or commission a piece, or it's super open-ended. So
yeah. That's great. That comes from higher up in the program than just your teacher, of course. But
yeah,
I mean, a lot of people are getting suggestions to do things about things that won't help them at all in their career or even in their music. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe if you do the Baroque trills thing, just record a CD or something,
yeah,
of that kind of music or whatever.
Supplemental, in a program where the university requires a 20-page paper or something.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, "Oh, okay, cool, a recording. Here's some MP3s."
Right. So. Yeah. I mean, I did write 40 pages in the end for the research, but that was just on the data as I understood it. But I tried to pair it with, I don't know. Anyways, the point is, it's nice to do things that actually affect your, your real practice.
Yeah, and more of that today in the classical guitar world, in the music world in general, classical music world. You see people doing things during their degrees that's helping them in the future.
Well, the problem is it's a slow burn building a career, right? You can't just graduate and have, it takes a while, even getting students in a new city. We move a lot as classical musicians, and it's kind of brutal that every time you move you have to build up your studio again. So I think that it should be integrated in the school process, developing yourself as an artist just outside of school as well at the same time. But it's hard to balance, for sure.
We might be in the hardest era of that because I'm thinking in the next 20 or 30 years, a lot of the university positions are going to be occupied by people that are encouraging those things to their students. Speaking to their students about stuff like social media and how to reach out to people for concerts and things like this. You always hear stories about professors where students ask, hey, how do I talk to this person? How do I start this relationship? And they're just they recommend something ancient.
Yeah. I have the feeling, I mean, not that I'm not sure I want to teach at the university level, but if I ever did, one of the things that I've always thought is I would always have a part of my studio class would be talking about career development and getting my students to discuss what are their moves to develop their career. Because I think at that level, a teacher should be just as much checking up on their students that they're actually doing those things if they're meaning to have a career with it. If you want to do a bachelor's or a master's in guitar and you don't want to have a career, I understand, but I guess sort of. But at the same time, I don't understand why. I mean, our school in Maastricht has a class on that, so it's not with Carlo, but we have a whole course that's designed around that, and that's been pretty useful.
That's great.
Yeah, but I think it needs to be more integrated even from the first year almost, I don't know.
Yeah, and it should be something a private instructor should be pretty active in too. I know I've been fortunate actually with Adam Holzman and both Renee. I guess both of them were my teachers during times where I was trying to make decisions about things and wanting to get more concerts and things like this. And I remember Renee asking lots of different people when they came in to the program what their goal is here, because some people come right out and say I don't really want to be a performer. I would rather have a nice education job. I'm more passionate about teaching. And then, now your teacher knows how to guide you rather than,
Yeah.
uh, treating everyone like they're going to be a concert performer. So
Right.
if you come in and say like, look, I really want to do this, I want to make this work, then, your teacher should be kind of, making sure that you're going through some steps
Yeah.
to help yourself in that process.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of it's been reaching out to my colleagues. I've learned the most from like people like Steve, like Nathan, like Steve Cowan, Nathan, my close friends, Emma's. I've learned a lot from Emma just from talking with her. Like people who have built their careers slowly or from the ground up or quickly or whatever, and they can really give you tips. But then, I mean, it is kind of annoying to always be asking people, but at the same time, we all have to help each other. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, peers are a good thing. And, well, going back to just teachers and professors, they should be able to advise you, like, hey, don't talk to this person. They don't,
Right. Yeah. Like, here's the things to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, cool. Well, so sorry, just really quickly, what's the topic of the artist diploma then? Like, sorry, how you said you doing it so that you could develop, sort of this stuff alongside your schooling, and so what's the concept for that? Like,
There's no like topic of it. I don't have to pick like a project or something, which is all
okay.
basically private lessons, chamber music, all the things that I would be doing outside of school in the first place.
Right. But then you have time to do admin and actually like find concerts and do all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of extra time for that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't feel like I have free time,
right?
But that's more testament towards saying like, it was a good idea for me to do this.
Yeah.
But then again, I have friends that are doing their doctorate, and they're like, hey, it's not that much work. You ought to just do your doctorate. It's like 1 or 2 classes a week,
right?
Monday, Friday. It's not like an undergraduate or a master's where you have a lot more classes, but even still, those extra 3 hours a week, commuting there, commuting back, focus getting put on those classes rather than, hey, I'm in this situation, I'm not really in school, just taking lessons. How can I make the best of this so that I'm not wasting my time?
Yeah, I mean, I think too, it's really location specific too, because like for example here in Maastricht again, it's not a perfect school. Trust me, there's problems with some of the school the way it's set up, but at the same time they allow you to get credit for chamber music you do as professional stuff outside of school.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the same thing with like concerts and stuff. So a large part of the master's degree is you can do stuff within the school, like projects that they have set up, like performance projects and things, and playing like free concerts there and things. But you can also just say, hey, I went and did this little tour, or hey, I went and did this festival. I want to get credit for that master class I did there, or that concert I played there, or whatever. Or I filled in for someone playing, a little gig, chamber music gig, and you get credit for it. So that's a really nice setup too, because it incentivizes students to go out and find these opportunities, which I think is good. Yeah. So.
Really cool.
Yeah. Anyhow. Okay, the next thing I want to know is your answer to our gotcha question, Evan. So
I'm not familiar with the segment yet. So
the gotcha question of the stream is, how do you define classical guitar?
Oh, that's great. I love that one. I've tried to answer that one before. I don't think anyone has a good answer to it.
Yeah.
Classical guitar. You know what? Actually, before I answer that question, this is a good way to dodge gotcha.
Oh, okay.
One of the interesting things I was talking to people about this, it kind of caused the staff to define classical guitar, because me and some friends were just brainstorming, how many classical guitarists do you think there are in the world? And then we're like, okay, what's a classical guitarist? And it's like, is it anyone that has a nylon string guitar? Or is it someone that has heard classical music and at one point plays the beginning of Fur Elise on their classical guitar, and now they're defined as a classical guitarist, right? So I would say a classical guitarist is anyone that or a classical guitarist is at least anyone who, as a hobby, enjoys playing classical music on their guitar.
Okay, no matter what kind of guitar it is.
What's that?
No matter what kind of guitar it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so. Because, for instance, if you have someone, which I can't name someone off the top of my head, but there could easily be someone who has a steel string guitar but only plays classical music. Only plays class one. While I don't think that's the best choice, I think I would still call them a classical guitarist.
Right, yeah. But how do you explain what classical guitar is? For example, to someone who doesn't know that much about it. How would you
Oh,
make it?
you say explain it like for someone that doesn't know much
Yeah,
about it.
like how would you define it? Yeah, like what would you have to
Yeah.
say to someone to explain what it is?
Well, I would obviously explain it within the terms of a nylon string guitar because that's a really easy way for someone to visualize the difference in instruments that classical guitarists tend to prefer.
Mm-hmm.
But I would describe it as playing music of the classical genre of high data, high amount of data music, um, but also tons of other things. That's a great gotcha question. Yeah, I would say a big part of it is playing part of the tradition. You know,
Yeah.
someone that's aware of the tradition. Otherwise, we have to define classical guitar somehow, and we have to attach it to the tradition. But we can think of other cases where someone doesn't like playing any bit in the tradition. You know, they want to get away from the tradition as much as possible, and they would still be a classical guitarist.
Right. Yeah. It's
Uh,
it the I think the category really breaks down in contemporary music. Like
mm-hmm.
it gets really
Yeah.
hard to define in the last well, in just what's being done now with it. So
But I can't think of an example of a person who plays contemporary music on a nylon string guitar that isn't aware of the tradition.
of course,
They're
yeah.
aware of it. So they obviously identify with, well, they know what a classical guitarist is, and maybe they don't play any traditional repertoire, but they know exactly what it is. They might know better than most classical guitarists that play the tradition.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean I just mean that like at that point, once you get to like sort of the edges of contemporary music and classical guitar, it becomes problematic to define it by the music that's being played on the instrument, you know? Because then you
Right.
start to run into the territory where different people would disagree on what counts as classical music or not. But of course, the category classical music itself is a problem, so...
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people just switching things in their bios to just like guitarist.
Yeah.
They're not like trying to define what category.
Well, my problem is I think my Facebook page is only called Michael Ibsen, guitarist, because my problem is the perception for people who aren't in the classical music tradition or aren't really musicians themselves. I have the feeling that someone on the street, if I tell them I'm a classical guitarist, they imagine that I play like Mozart and stuff. And like, if I played like all Giuliani, maybe it would make sense. But
Right.
the general perception of the style of music I play is so different than what I actually do because I play a lot of contemporary music.
Sure.
That for me, it's kind of weird to tell someone that I'm a classical guitarist unless they already know what that is.
Yeah. You know what? These terms, someone in the comments here asked, so is Roland Dean's not a classical guitarist since he plays his own compositions, often influenced by jazz? No. Roland Dean's would get to say whatever he would want to say about that. The label is only there for us to use to make it simple for people.
Yeah.
For instance, when I'm talking to someone, like, say it's like I'm in a taxi or I'm in an Uber and I'm going somewhere, of course we all have these situations. And, maybe you're headed to a restaurant or you're going from the airport to wherever your gig is. And they ask you what you do. If you're trying to be casual and they're not really wanting to have a deep conversation or something, you just say, oh, well, do you know, I play guitar. Usually the next question is, oh, like what style, what type of guitar? And you say classical, and they say, what's that? And you say, oh, do you know like Spanish music, like flamenco music?
Yeah.
You say, yeah. And I'll say, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I would identify as a flamenco guitarist. It's just an easy way for people to understand what you do.
For sure.
And then they'll say, what type of guitar is that on? You say, oh, it's on a nylon string. And then
Yeah.
maybe you get into talking about the type of music you play and you can show them something on Spotify. But
Yeah, I mean, I usually try to, it's hard not to get into the weeds with that explanation,
yeah,
Because, I mean, any explanation that you give in, like, one or two sentences to someone who doesn't know classical music at all is going to be not really accurate. But that's okay,
yeah.
It's okay
I'd
not to
rather
be
than
accurate.
more things like Rodrigo y Gabriela.
Yeah.
Even though that's not even flamenco music, but that's like a lot of times what people guess. I would rather people think that than when I say classical guitar, they think I'm playing Van Halen.
Right, yeah.
So, because then they're going to just sit there and nerd out with you about like who their favorite classic rockers are. And then
Right.
you're just like, oh, I hate that conversation.
Yeah, I've had that conversation a few times too, for sure. It's an awkward one.
Deep, right? They're already like so impassioned about who their favorite people are. You're just like, all right.
Yeah. Mark Hertz has it right. He says classical guitar equals guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all guitar.
It's an easy way to specify what you do to people that don't know what it is that you like doing.
Right. Yeah. Anyhow, that's funny. Okay. Well, we're really quickly gonna play our first game, Evan, and then hear you play again.
Love it.
So can you guess what's coming here? Do you know what this game is?
Is this going to be the where I get embarrassed of my classical guitar repertoire knowledge?
Yeah, exactly. You got it. Okay.
Oh, I
So
love that game. Yeah.
for anyone who doesn't know, I'm gonna play some clips of some tracks, some hot tracks, some recordings, and Evan's gonna guess. You can guess the piece, the composer, or the player.
Yeah.
So there's 3 points in each category. You do have a call-in too. Nobody seems to use it, but if you're really stumped, you can ask the audience for help.
Okay, that's funny.
Okay, and there's like 30 people watching, so you have a lot of people to help you.
Oh yeah.
In case you're stuck.
I'm gonna put my headphones on so that way I can hear the tone and maybe guess some guitarists.
Exactly, and there's 3 levels, so there's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. There's 3 tracks in each level. Okay, so track number 1. I'm just gonna make sure. I think I'm sharing the audio. Yes, we are good. Okay, so many things, so many variables to keep track of here.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I don't hear it, but then
Okay.
the audience is the one that.
Track number 1. Do you want to hear the beginning, or is that good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll play the beginning. But do you have a guess?
I know what it is. Oh, hold on.
Okay, it's playing from.
Yeah, it's a Scarlatti sonata.
Okay, Scarlatti Sonata.
But shoot, dude, with the numbers.
Which one?
Oh, it's K1.
Okay, Scarlatti K1. You got
Yeah,
it.
and you know what? I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna guess who it is.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I know. That's Renee.
It's Renee Izquierdo.
That's Renee.
Good boy, Evan. You
You gotta
recognize your
hear those
teacher.
crispy trills. Yeah.
Yeah, crispy trills. We were just talking about Baroque trills,
Yeah. Yeah.
Hashtag relevant. I didn't plan that. It's amazing.
Oh no way.
Yeah. I mean, I planned to play this piece, but I didn't plan the conversation about Baroque trills. Okay. Yes.
Okay. I understand what you meant.
Yeah. So Renee Izquierdo playing Scarlatti K1. Good job. I mean, K1's pretty iconic, but that's why it's in the beginner category.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you jumped to the middle of it, I thought Bach for a second.
Well, that can happen.
So it's insane. Yeah, I thought it was a fast feud.
Yes. Okay. Piece number 2. Do you want to hear earlier on?
Yeah, sure.
Any idea?
Oh man,
Maybe
it sounds
the very
like
beginning?
Brouwer.
It's Brouwer, yeah.
It's Brouwer. It sounds like a characteristic piece or something.
This beginning doesn't give it away.
No, man, I haven't played a lot of Brouwer.
Oh, Ben guesses the player but gets it wrong. No, Ben. You're not allowed to look at the comments, by the way, Evan.
I'm not. My phone's over there. Now I'm just trying to guess the player. Obviously, I know the piece by the sound. I just don't know the name.
Okay, so Brouwer and the player. The player, I'll give you a hint, is a French GFA winner.
Okay.
Not that there's a lot of
A
French
little
GFA winners, so.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think who's recording an album of Brouwer of the French GFA winners. I don't think it's Thibaut.
Well, it doesn't have to be a whole album of Brouwer, right?
Right.
But also the sound. I mean, you can probably tell what kind of guitar this player's playing on.
You know,
I'll give you an even better hint. Okay, no,
I'm gonna guess. Well, I'm gonna guess Violato.
You were right, Thomas Fielto. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. He's got that
Yeah.
nice Smallman sound. That's from his
Nice
GFA
Smallman.
CD. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
And the piece was Rito de las Orishas. Right of the Orishas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. I won't pretend that was on the tip of my tongue, but
Okay. Well, so you got 2 out of 3, so that's not bad.
yeah. All right. I'm sweating a little bit less. All right.
Exactly. Okay. Number 3.
Someone said Van Halen eruption. Now I'm checking the comments. Hector.
Oh, Hector. Well, Ben, you got the piece right, or the piece for the last one right, but not the player. I'll play the beginning.
Yeah. It sounds like Granados. But
is
it
Granados.
doesn't sound like. Okay.
It is Granados.
Are you playing one of the more?
Sorry?
Oh, Jaleel plays these. The Vals Poeticos.
Yes, Vals Poeticos by Granados. And
but I don't think that's Jaleel playing.
No, it's another French player, actually, overrepresented in this first category.
I'm thinking about the French GFA ones. I'll guess Thibaut.
No, Raphael Filetre.
Oh, of course. He played that. I saw him play that at GFA.
Yeah, there you go. So 2 out of 3 again. Yeah. Okay, not bad. So first category, you got 7 out of 9. Very good, Evan.
Cool. Sweet.
Super nice job.
Are we moving on to the next category? We do it all at once?
Intermediate. Yes, intermediate. Boy. And you still haven't used your call-in, so this is good.
Cool. I know who I'm calling for the modern music stuff you're going to throw at me.
Right. You can call someone on the phone if you want, or you can just ask in the comments.
Cool.
Pablo had it, Raphael. Very good, Pablo. Okay, next one. I'll play the beginning because it's a little more distinctive. Any idea?
I would guess Milan.
No, not Milan. I'll give you one more guess.
Okay.
Do you want to hear a bit more? Dowland, you got it. Dowland. And this is one of those pieces that's named for like a patron, you know, like they have the name is in the title. Can you guess?
No.
Okay, it's Sir John Smith, his Almain.
Okay, got it. Cool.
And it's recorded by a British guitarist.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this guitarist, but hopefully.
Recorded by a British guitarist.
Young British guitarist. Now, also played in the GFA recently, actually, in the finals.
Oh, Michael Button?
Michael Button, yes.
All right, cool.
Yes. There's a really nice CD.
His album hasn't come out yet, right? The Naxos one?
Perhaps not, but he has a really nice album that's not Nexus of Dowland on Spotify.
Cool.
So
I didn't even get to catch those finals. I mean, everyone watches the finals, the GFA, but I was at Brevard in North Carolina, and I was just desperate. I was like walking around desperately trying to get an internet connection, and there was another concert going on there. And whenever there's a concert going on at that festival, and people come from everywhere to go to those concerts, no one gets internet connection because it's this tiny little town. And everyone's on their phones.
So oh man, brutal.
Still haven't listened to him play.
You should. It was good. It's good. But this CD is really nice. It's Dallin CD of his. Okay, so 2 out of 3 for that. Not bad. Next one. I mean, I did help you a bit, but sharing is caring.
Yeah. So what is this? Intermediate coming up?
Yeah, that was intermediate already.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh. I know this.
Oh, Pablo, it was not David Russell, it was Michael Button.
makes me mad that I don't know what this is.
I'll play the beginning. I might give it away.
I mean, I could play the whole melody.
Spanish composer.
Yeah. I mean, it's it sounds like Albanese.
It's not Albanese.
It's not.
It is.
Wait. Oh.
Yes, this melody. It's part of a 3-movement work.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to bore everyone. Wait, could it be like the errata from Toroba Sonatina?
It's from the Toroba Sonatina, correct? It's the Andante. Yeah.
Andante, okay. Oh, okay, got it.
And this player teaches.
What is errata from?
This player teaches in the U.S.
He teaches. I see how you worded that. He teaches in the U.S.
Well, many of the players teach in the U.S. are not American, but still, there's a lot of teachers in the U.S. So.
Yeah. Maybe Ricardo Cobo?
No, it's Denis Ezabegic.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, but still 2 out of 3. And you actually got your guitar out and played it to find the melody, so I feel like that's.
Yeah.
I almost want to give you half a point just for that.
Quarter of a point.
Yeah, quarter of a point. Exactly. Okay, next one. Any idea?
Oh, it's beautiful. No, could I get the beginning of it?
Yes, I'll play the beginning.
Cool. Oh, I'm gonna guess Bennett Impromptus.
No, not the Bennett
No.
Impromptus. One more guess.
All right, I'll use my call-in because I'm not going to get this.
Okay, Colin. Can anyone
All
find
right, definitely Tom Clippinger. He might be watching.
Tom, help us if you can, Tom.
Tom, we need you. Is Tom here?
Yeah.
I know he's got to be watching.
Tom, you're our only hope. Oh, Mark's got it. You can look at the comments and see.
Okay, but we were waiting for Tom. If he's not here, I lose it.
No. You can get help from anyone else. There's already 2 people who've got it in the comments.
Come on, Tommy. No, I'm joking.
Mark and Pablo are already helping.
Okay, yeah, they got it. Takamitsu. Oh, dang.
Yeah, Equinox. And who's the player? Can anyone guess the player? I'll give everybody a hint for the player. This player teaches in Europe and recently recorded a whole Schwacke Brouwer. Recorded more Brouwer than I think anyone else has, probably. Well, not anyone else has, but he recorded a huge project of Brouwer recently.
What's up, Jeremy? Yeah.
I feel like someone in the comments should be able to get it from that hint. But there's a delay, so let's wait and see if they say anything.
You said he just recorded a whole multi-CD set of Brouwer?
I think it must be multi-CD just from the sheer number of repertoire. Yeah, I'm not sure
Wow.
how many CDs it is.
And he teaches where? You said?
In Europe.
In Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, Hector's got it. Gayan. Ricardo Gayan.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, he recorded all the Brouwer sonatas.
Cool.
All 6 of them. Okay.
That juicy tone.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Ricardo Gayan. Well, I mean, actually, he has kind of a thinner sound. It's not a bad thing, but a slightly thinner sound than some players. But it's nice.
It's nice and thick there, at least.
Yeah, the bass is for sure. He's really good at using like the flesh of his thumb when it's advantageous, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And in that kind of bass line, it really brings out the dark color. Okay, so you got the same in this category, 7 out of 9, but you did use your call-in, so.
Oh yeah.
So now we're in advanced, Evan.
Spent, yeah.
You ready? Oh, whoops, I put 7 out of 9 in advanced. I don't know if you'll get that in the advanced category. Let's see. Okay, first one. Any idea?
It sounds Spanish. I just don't know.
Okay, it's not a Spanish composer, actually.
Okay.
but I can see why you would think it sounds Spanish. It's from the mid 20th century.
Okay.
A composer that wrote for Segovia.
Okay, not Spanish. I don't know. Not Spanish, wrote for Segovia. I would think it's one of the Italians.
It's Ponce.
Oh, Ponce. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Ponce.
That should have been easy. Yeah, I messed that one up.
It's okay. But I think you should know this player. You're pretty familiar with this player, I would say.
Okay. All right. Let's.
Their teachers in the U.S.
It could be Holzman.
It's Adam Holzman. Yeah.
He was like the first to record all of that. His whole CD of Ponce was like. I think it might have been like the first complete Ponce.
There's multiple volumes,
CD.
on Nexus.
Yeah.
And this piece I had never even heard of until I went searching today for stuff for this game. It's the Homenaje a Tárrega.
Oh, okay.
So like random piece by Ponce, 3-minute piece in homage to Tárrega. Really nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of those small little gems.
Yeah.
I guess you could squeeze out of the Ponce.
There's also a Torina piece like this homage to Tárrega. So someone needs to get on recording those back to back.
Yeah, I mean, there's totally room to record some of those older Ponce pieces that
for sure.
You know.
Nobody knows. Okay, well you got 1 out of 3. Not bad.
Cool.
You knew your teacher at least when I gave you a hint.
Well, you gave me a hint. Yeah.
But still. I mean, I have to give people hints because in like, when you do like listening tests in music history, like courses, they give you the list like 2 months in advance, but here you have like the entire guitar catalog to worry about, so.
Yeah, every player in the world. Yeah,
it's a bit overwhelming, so I have to help some. Okay, just 2 more. Now this one. I'm sorry, Pablo said he's on the other side of Trump's wall.
Let's see. I don't appreciate that, Pablo. I don't appreciate that at all. And you know what? He said there's gonna be a big, beautiful door, so I'm waiting on that.
We're like 45 minutes into the stream. We've already brought up Trump. Okay, but
yeah,
back to the music. Okay. If Tom was here, he could help you on this one too.
Oh yeah. Tom, where's that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this is.
This is the Bennett Impromptus. You guessed it earlier.
Oh, look at that.
And it's recorded by
great
British guitarist who is from a slightly older generation, not Michael Button's generation. Can you guess?
Okay. Slightly older generation.
Yeah, like just not like a building his career right now kind of,
Yeah, sure. Established.
Yeah, established. That's the way to put it.
British guitarist. No, I don't know.
It's Graham Devine.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Okay. So 0 out of 3, Evan. Not looking good. Only 1 point so far in this category.
That's okay. I'm not worried about it.
Last piece. Let's see here. You're one of those artists who already has your self-worth sorted out.
Oh.
I'll go to the top.
I have friends that play this piece. Oh yeah. It's the Razon Monzostros or whatever, the Sleep of Reason.
No, but it is Tedesco.
Oh, it's Tedesco.
It's Tedesco, but it's not that piece. That piece would not be in the advanced category. Come on, man. That piece is like intermediate at best.
I know it's Tedesco. I have friends that play it. I just don't remember the name of this one.
Yeah, this is one of the less oft-played, but I think I know a few American players of your kind of
I'm trying to think if it's Sam that plays this. But
I don't think Sam plays it.
yeah,
Bokyung Byun
who
plays
is it that I'm
this.
thinking? No, I mean one of my close friends
Eric Meyer
plays
plays
this.
this. Bokyung Byun plays
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It's Escaraman.
Oh yeah, yeah. Matt Gillen plays this
Okay,
all the
okay.
time. And you know what? Someone played this in the Ex-Aequo competition too.
Okay,
That's where I most recently heard it, but that's probably what was throwing me off.
yeah. But can you guess the player? It's an Italian player. I'll give you that.
Um, I'm gonna guess Lorenzo Michele, but
You
that's
got
probably a
it.
little bit too bright. No, okay,
Lorenzo
wow.
Michele. So, 2 out of I'll give you Tedesco for that because I think you knew it was Tedesco. So,
Yeah.
okay, so 3 out of 9 events. So, in total, you got 17 out of 27. Not bad.
Okay. Whatever. Fine with that.
More than 50%. We'll see how you stack up at the end of the month when I post my leaderboard.
Yeah, sure. Not at the top, but that's fine.
We'll see. We'll see. There's plenty of time for everyone else to be bad at the game, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You want to play some music for us? This was a bit of a longer.
Oh, sure.
You said you were going to play some of your own music, actually, right?
Yeah, sure. I could do that. Yeah, just kind of getting my start in writing music, and actually, it's Nathan Bredesen who gave me some good advice because I was talking to him, and I really respect him as a composer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what festival we were at. Maybe it was in Bloomington, but I was like, man, you know what? I always think of these ideas, but I can never finish them, and I just get so burnt out on the piece itself trying to finish the ideas. And he gave me the advice to just finish it. He's just like, I mean, it's so simple advice, but he's just like, yeah, that happens to everyone. Just do whatever you can, give yourself a deadline, and finish the pieces
Mm-hmm.
and move on. So that's kind of what I did, except the deadline wasn't imposed by me. It was imposed by these courses that I needed to write these etudes for. So I made these video courses for both jam play and pickup music some 6 or 7 months later.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted, jam play wanted some pieces that, could apply to people that were picking up classical guitar, who were, they played a good bit of guitar, but not much classical. That was kind of the idea.
Yeah.
And I could have just picked things from studies at Caroli things and stuff like that. But I was like, well, you know what? This is a really good opportunity to write some things. And writing's kind of been, it's always kind of been a thing that I've done, but I've never finished. And so this forced me to finish a few pieces, and it's turned into some things that I've really liked, and I've recorded them a few places. And then same sort of thing for pickup music, except I wanted to write totally new things for that. And so what ended up happening is I wrote a set of pieces that I'm calling synths, but like synths of smell, because it's something I lack. I don't have a sense of smell, and I haven't for I want to say 10 years or so.
Okay.
But it does come back periodically. I've had nasal polyps that I've had surgically removed. That might have made myself even less sensitive to smell. But occasionally I get that sense of smell back, and when I do, it's really brief. It'll last for, sometimes like 30 seconds when I'm like running or something. It's like really heavy breathing, your sinuses are cleared. Other times it'll be a day or two that I'll have a sense of smell for. But then after that, typically, no matter what you put up to my nose, I cannot smell it. It could be like rubbing alcohol, and I wouldn't even have the sensation of the burning.
Wow.
So, and I say at that extreme because sometimes when people think no sense of smell, they think like you don't have a very acute sense of smell, but it's really nothing. So these pieces are kind of written around this idea. They're like these brief moments that you have this ability, which like feels magical in the moment, right? But sometimes that moment feels really great, and I'm very excited to have the sense of smell, and I go walking around the house, or I'll go outside and smell, and I'm very excited. But other times when I get the sense of smell, it's like kind of fills you with sadness because you're reminded that you don't have this all the time, and you realize that you're missing out on so much of life when you know that every time you taste something or you drink like a cup of coffee or you take a bite into the meal that you prepared, when you have a sense of smell, you can obviously taste so much more detail.
Mm-hmm.
We've all sensed this when you're sick, you know, of course, you don't have as strong of a sense of smell. So I wrote these pieces around that kind of idea. Some of them are very focused on like the happy aspect of it, and other ones are focused on the sadness that surrounds it.
Cool. And there's three you're gonna play?
Yeah, I could play three of them.
Okay, cool.
Let me think about which three.
Awesome. Well, you can play as many as you want. I mean, it's up to you. But
Sure.
okay, I'm just gonna turn off my camera here.
Yeah. I'll explain the pieces as I decide the ones I will play. I'll start with a prelude. Actually, this was the first one that I wrote as a set for these jam play courses. This one is a prelude, and like I said, they're centered around being etudes, and this one was all about keeping the same right hand pattern. So it basically is P-I-M, oh sorry, it's P-I-A-M-A-M-A-M, and you know, training these two fingers to be really relaxed and alternate. And now I'll play one titled Bloomed. And you can think of bloomed as in like flowers blooming and that scent, right? It's on the other side of the spectrum of like the happier experience of having the sense of smell. this last one is kind of a homage to Augustin Barnes. You know, when I was writing the melody to it, it reminded me a lot of like Sueño La Foresta, and you'll hear some tribute to that piece. And also, there's a technique that I'm trying to develop, which is in this one, which is a tremolo between two strings. That's sort of like the Stefan Rock thing, but a little bit different in some ways. But it's sort of incorporated in the middle of the piece. It goes from normal tremolo until the tremolo on two strings. I think you'll see that. So if I can pull off tremolo in this moment, that would be a miracle in itself. But this one is just called homage to Augustin Barnes. And that's a set of three done.
Beautiful. Wonderful.
Thanks so much.
Nice. Those are really nice.
I appreciate it. No, it's just a fun thing to do. Is just write some music and see what happens when you just try to express yourself. So.
Yeah, I've never really, I mean, other than in my undergrad when I had to do some composition courses as part of like, you know, obligatory study, I never really have written anything. Maybe one day I'll do it, but I'm always impressed by people who can perform and write because I feel like both things are so hard to do, you know?
It's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't normally go together. Like a lot of times I'll forget, like I think even some notes or some spots in the pieces that I'm playing, but no, I don't know. I think it's just it's a nice fun thing to do and experiment with. See what you come up with.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what impresses me about like, you know, people who do that is that they can manage both things, especially people who do both consistently in their career. It's like,
yeah, seriously,
that's hard. Like Nathan, for example, with writing a 21-minute sonata and then doing that tour with me. I'm like, I just had to play the sonata, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Like you don't have to receive the criticism or like think about those types of things. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Those are really nice though. The harmonies in the second one are really pretty cool, pretty like unexpected in a good way.
Thanks. Yeah, the second one bloomed. That one was I wrote specifically for the pickup music course, and pickup music is this community online. For those that are unfamiliar, it's like it kind of I would say birthed the neo soul movement in guitar, and there's not really there wasn't much classical guitar going on there. They have all these different courses of electric guitar players that are actually really great. But they asked me to do the first classical guitar course for them, and I wanted to write something that would kind of I was hoping it might appeal to some people that had never played anything on classical guitar before. but
Yeah.
like, and even a lot of the shapes are jazzier
Yeah.
shapes, and I just thought that might attract some of the jazz players over to classical guitar.
For sure. Yeah, you have to have like your gateway drug, for people
Yeah,
to get into classical guitar. Um, I'm trying to think.
exactly. In
For
in a set of 3 or 4 pieces I wrote, I was hoping one of those might be a gateway for some people to just sort of
yeah,
discover more things.
yeah. I mean, it's either like for most guitarists who are like electric guitarists or whatever, it's like either like Brower or DNs or something, like
Right.
or people who play like fingerstyle or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And what's tricky is like with these online courses, and while more and more of these are coming out, and people are making their own and posting them on their website, um, it's hard to include any of that music because obviously there's copyright problems. You can't like go play
Yeah.
Deans or Brower and then sell a course where you're playing that music unless you have their permission. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky world with that kind of thing. I just mean, well, I guess in terms of teaching, it's a lot more straightforward.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If it's at a university, it's awesome.
Yeah, or even in your private studio.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, I actually usually ask people a little bit about practicing and technique. What kind of general, like, how do you like to practice? What are your practice habits like? Do you feel like you're good at practicing, or is that something you struggle with?
Um, I definitely don't feel like I have it all figured it out with practice. I know I have friends in my undergraduate, at least. Undergraduate's that time where you spend so much time practicing with others. You're in the practice rooms together. At least I feel like that's the most common shared experience. But I had some friends that would have notebooks of just practice logs, and they were so detailed with everything. And then I always looked up to them as like, whoa, that's a good practicer. They're keeping a log of everything they do. They have a plan before they go start practicing. They have charts and everything. I don't do things that way, but I'm always trying to become a better practicer. And one of the things that I've discovered that works well for me is actually some of these time management apps. There's one I use called A Tracker. It's free, but you can put different tasks in there, and I just name the task names of pieces. Or like one of my tasks is named tremolo. One of them is named technique. One of them's named slurs. So if I'm just doing general technique, I click technique, and if I'm just doing slurs, I click slurs. But it automatically times how long you work on those things for, and when you press that word, it starts a stopwatch. And then when you press another word or another category, it stops that one and starts the other. So
Cool. So you can actually
yeah,
track it. It's like tracking your analytics on your website.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And you can it kind of humbles me when I look at that because sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm trying to improve as a guitarist, and I look back at the statistics. It's like I practice scales for only 15 minutes this week.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, what am I doing? I'm trying to get better at this. So
Yeah.
I can look back at those types of things, and it tells me what to practice the next week.
Yeah.
But one of the best practice, I know you were wanting some sort of tip or practice tip to share, but one of the best things, it just still all has to do with time, and that's like a little timer. I actually have one on the floor over there. Maybe I'll go grab it, but it's like a little cube, and it has numbers on the sides of it, and when you tip over the cube, it beeps, and I'll show you. Let me just grab that real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Good idea.
See, I keep it on the floor because I just knock it over with my foot to whatever time I want it to go on. So, see, it has all the things. Obviously, 60 minutes would be a terrible one to put it on.
No kidding.
I most commonly use 5. And if I do this, you hear, and you can see it flashing red there. That means it's on. And after 5 minutes, it'll go off. And then I normally just kick it back over to this.
That's amazing. What's this called?
And
are you sponsored by them?
Bottom. Yeah, it's I just searched like cracked timer cube or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna set that down.
yeah, so it stops beeping. That's really cool. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's it's a way to keep track of what you're doing. All of a sudden, after 5 minutes went by, you realize that your mindfulness was just terrible. Maybe only 3 minutes were you were actually focusing on, and 2 minutes later, you're just like, oh, that was way too long. So
yeah,
5 minutes is almost too much. And the other thing that I've only discovered the past, I'd say, year or so in my life that has really made a difference for me in practice is meditation. And at least do that once a day and just learning about mindfulness and meditation, and not just like the general concept of like sitting there and closing your eyes and trying to forget about everything, um, which is more of like a buzzwordy type thing, like forgetting, like trying to like ignore everything, but actually trying to train your mind to work better every single day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there are quite a few meditation apps out now too. Do you use anything
Yeah,
like that, or have you just got like books you've read and stuff?
yeah. I use this one called Waking Up.
Oh, use the Sam Harris one. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, you know this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I did the first few lessons, but then I fell off the radar. But I mean, Sam's great at explaining the actual practical usefulness of meditation in terms of like, I mean, he's not. It's just in terms of like monitoring your mood and your thought processes, right? Which is like, I guess, the point of mindfulness.
Yeah, and yeah, he kind of explains the rationale as to why it's so important, and that's why, um, and I don't know, I subscribe to that type of belief that just it's the one thing you can improve,
Mm-hmm.
kind of just mindset that makes such a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Not your mindset, but the way you manage your time and the way that you manage
Emotions too, and
yeah, your emotions and your thoughts.
yeah, what you focus on, right? I mean, that's kind of from what I've heard him explain. That's kind of the point that he sees in it, is that it helps you be aware of like where is your mind focusing, what are you dwelling on, and how is that affecting your like state of mind, state of being, physically, mentally, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it starts off with just like directing your focus somewhere, right? Like, of course, we've all heard of like focus on your breath and focus on, thinking all the way from the inhale all the way through the exhale.
Mm-hmm.
But then as time goes on and you develop more, or as you go more through the program, he begins talking about like how you allow random thoughts to pop in your mind and how you treat them. Like, if a thought pops into your mind and you immediately dismiss it almost with anger or like swiftness, then that's also not truly focused. The
Mm-hmm.
true focus is acknowledging that it came into your brain, recognizing why it came, and then letting it go.
Right. Yeah.
So, I've got a long ways to work through those types of things, and just sort of getting my start at it. But I found that it's so important because you recognize those same practices that you were doing in the meditation when you're on the guitar and practicing. You're just like, wow, I have no control over my thoughts and my actions right now. It's literally just everything that I've been, you know, that I've been told to do, and that that I just naturally want to do when I pick up the guitar rather than.
Yeah. It's also hard though, because like when it comes to performing or playing an instrument, like you kind of want that focus and that control, but at the same time sometimes you don't, like I don't know, I've had experiences where I'm like just totally like letting everything happen and it goes great, and then other experiences where I needed more control. I don't know, it's very hard to know how much control you need in the moment, especially on stage.
So true, yeah, and so much about relaxed playing is losing control, right?
Right. Sorry, my cat's losing control with
Oh
the
yeah,
the curtain and his ball. Loki, do you want to say hi? Oh no.
you could just put him inside a room with the meditation app, and then
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Loki's gonna meditate. He's not good at meditating. He's a little spastic, but he's still a kitten. So maybe
oh
when
yeah,
he's a wise old cat, he'll start meditating.
yeah. More food and then relax more.
He usually gets crazier the closer he gets to food time. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Anyways. Uh. All right. You had Scarlatti you were gonna play, right? Which Scarlatti are you playing? I'm super curious.
I can play this Scarlatti K53.
Ooh, K53. Wow. Okay.
K53, but
We're in for a treat. You can like warm. Do you want to like demonstrate some technique stuff you do just to warm up?
sure.
Like
Oh yeah,
what kind of technique exercises do you do?
yeah. Speaking of mindfulness and these types of things, you know what? Ever since, well, okay, so in this Master Guitar Alicante program, each of these artists came in and they taught, about a week of lessons to everyone. And one of the cool things was David Russell, when he came, he started every day of lessons with a warm-up class, or warm-up technique type of class with everyone. And out of the great respect I have for him and how he explained these warm-ups, I started doing these every day, and I still do them most days. But with things like warming up, I love starting with single notes.
Yeah.
This is how Dave Russell explains it. And just on the first three strings, single notes with my eye finger, so that I can really focus on my sound
Yeah.
and make the adjustments I need. And then I switch to my M finger and make sure I can make the exact same sound on every string that I do my A. And getting the feel for how much I need to push the string down also in order to make a good sound.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into doing this, which he didn't call it this, but what I related it to was flams on like a percussion instrument, you know, where it's like one thing landing right after another like this.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about flams is that they can be technically at a tempo that it's insanely high, but it doesn't have to be thought about so much. It's more just one thing falling after another in quickness.
Yeah.
And I try to get this really consistent feeling and do that with all the combinations of right hand fingers. And then I really like this type of tapping exercise that you also see violinists do.
Yeah.
Or bowed instrument, where your goal isn't to do this and create sound, but just to feel lightness of touch and accuracy of contact point in the left hand.
Sorry, the cats.
You got really crazy.
Loki, come on. Come learn technique with Evan, Loki. Loki's ready to listen for technique.
Nathan's been brought up quite a few times, but he showed me this exercise that I do all the time too, and I've showed so many friends. This one of slowly moving your fingers into the opposite position over the count of 8 beats.
Right.
It's like doing, you have your third and fourth finger placed maybe on the third or fourth string, and then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and here your fingers are perfectly lined up with the others. Mm-hmm. And you do 5, 6, 7, 8.
It's like those pumping nylon finger independence exercises, except like 8 times slower.
Yeah, actually, in that way, I think it's actually a completely different exercise. It's the same movements.
Yeah.
It's like about moving quickly and fast, but this one is about moving really controlled.
I make my students do that a lot with one section of a passage in a piece. Whenever they're having trouble landing a specific finger somewhere, I make them do that for several seconds at least between the 2 beats, and then they see whether they actually have control of the fingers or not.
Exactly. Yeah, and I always relate it to that passage that everyone knows in 998, where you go, and then all of a sudden you see people doing this.
Yeah.
So, and relating it to there, it's like when you're here, this third finger needs to be moving into its position.
Yeah.
And you're never going to have the patience to practice that way unless you start from the bare beginning and do it really simply. And, speaking of mindfulness and meditation, all this kind of stuff, this is a great way to start the day with a reminder yourself that you need to be extremely focused to achieve results.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Bach is good for that. I always show my students that video of Gabriele Bianco playing, I think it's the Presto from, or Allegro Assai from, which violin sonata is that? Yeah. Anyways, there's a video of him playing it, and his left hand is just like first of all, the fingers are so close to the strings and the frets, but they move so smoothly that it doesn't even look like he's moving them.
Right.
But it's like Allegro, like it's fast,
Yeah, super fast, right.
So it's shocking to see how efficient his motions are.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff is great. Okay, well now that you've warmed up, you can play some Scarlatti. Okay, I'm gonna let you play here.
Sure.
Woohoo! Excellent.
Thank you.
Stephen Den Tom says great playing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, nice job. I'm really impressed that you keep a very stable tempo in that. And I think if I played that piece, I would have so much trouble keeping it under control, the tempo, you know?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's yeah, you know what? There's all these different sections that like it like diabolically twist into this minor section and that and the B. The B section it just goes in this minor thing, and it's so easy to either speed up there or slow down because it's feeling more difficult that day. But
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
also,
I think it's one of those pieces that's probably really hard to make seem like it flows sort of effortlessly, you know?
right, for sure. Actually, it's probably such a poor choice to play, especially over live stream mic'd, because it's like it's not like one of these pieces that works well for recording because there's all of these finger movement there's all these big finger movement things when it's supposed to sound like effortless, where usually when there's an audience a little bit further away and that the sound can be enveloped by some sort of like reverby um, spacious room, it usually translates better than right into a microphone.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, you do great, so
Thank you so much.
no worries. Cool. Well, just quickly before we play our second game,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you have any tips for people about, yeah, I mean, social media or just like disseminating your music. Like, it's not necessarily about promoting yourself all the time. I mean, that's part of it, but just like connecting with people online through your playing and stuff. I know you've done a really good job. It seems like you've reached kind of an audience outside of the guitar world too, to some extent, which is really cool, because I think a lot of guitarists, myself included, who have a lot of social media stuff that we put time into, sometimes it feels like it's kind of reaching the same audience, you know.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that you've done that, or what's your experience been with that?
Yeah. Oh, that's maybe a more difficult question. I would say the I'll think about that. While I'll answer your previous question while I think about that one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as far as social media goes, one of the most important things is figuring out what your angle is to share.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of people doing the same things. They're just like posting some clip of what they're playing, and there's nothing particularly interesting about it unless it's like amazing playing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if it's like amazing playing, yeah, like you've got. I give this example most recently because we see someone like Grisha Gorishev who's on Instagram now, and he's only been on Instagram. I'm gonna guess like 6 months or 7 months, and
Mm-hmm.
this guy's at like 15,000 followers. Well, it's a no-brainer why he's at that amount of followers because he's just incredible at what he does. You know, every video he posts is just absolutely mind-blowing.
Shredding,
And
yeah.
yeah, and he has a lot of videos to post too because of course he's been recorded. He has so many different things to share.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but what people I think get caught up doing is not figuring out what it is that they have to share, and especially people that are just starting guitar. You see a lot of these people who will they'll post a lot, but it's obvious that they haven't, you know, been through some formal education with the guitar. There's still a lot of problems that need to be worked out. But what they might be missing, for instance, just an example, is that um, their angle isn't really interesting. For instance, an interesting angle that they could do is, hey, check this out. I'm learning this piece, and here's what I did in 10 days of this piece. Here's the before, and
Mm-hmm.
here's the after of this passage. That's an example of how someone with like little to no experience on their instrument or their craft can go from, you know, can make something that's appealing to an audience. You
Mm-hmm.
know, people will follow just for that reason. You see these people that do really well on weight loss pages. You know, you ever seen one of these like Instagrams or Facebook or YouTube pages where someone's like extremely overweight and then they have this whole, you know, they share people with what their workout is and how they're going, and you know, each week they're showing the weight that they've dropped to. That type of thing is really entertaining for everyone, even if you're not going through that same journey, because it's inspiring to see someone work hard and progress.
Right. Yeah. And so it's more about like, what's the point of the content you're making, right? Like,
Yeah,
and how does that connect with a potential audience? I mean, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, of course you can always put like a caption of like this. I like this piece because of X reason or whatever, but it's still important. I think. Yeah, you're right to connect it to some larger project or thing that sort of sets you apart and your what you
yeah.
post apart.
Well, and certainly putting in the caption why the piece is important to you or why you like it so much, if it's really well written and that's quality, that's super appealing. I remember that there's this violinist named Anastasia Mazurek on Instagram. And I remember when she was just starting to pick up traction with her followers, I remember seeing her post and I was just like, wow, everything she writes is so well written. And if it's about a piece and she's just playing like, um, you know, whatever passage, that's so common in the violin repertoire, even more common than a lot of the pieces that we're playing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, some Sibelius uh, passage. You
Concerto or
know,
something. Yeah.
well, yeah, exactly. She'll she'll write exactly why it's meaningful to her and what she's going through and all these different things, and
Mm-hmm.
people really connect to that. You know, especially really well written things. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
try to do that, but I mean, I also try just to pick my repertoire that way. I think that starts outside of the social media thing already in how you choose your program, even in school. Like, I just think there's a lot of guitarists who don't necessarily think about their program in that sense, of
right,
as I think this mentality you're talking about of like, what is your angle, actually
yeah,
should be a part of your artistic persona in general, right? So,
right,
and that should be thought of already from the time you start school, because I think a lot of people don't realize that when you graduate and when you start building your career, even while you're in school, your program is dependent on what you've played, because you need stuff for competitions and for concerts. You need stuff that you've played for a long time. So in that sense, like, it's kind of important to think. Of course, we all have to learn like the kind of standards and get an understanding of the literature, but at the same time, you have to think. I think already in your undergrad and masters about like what's your artistic persona, and then obviously what you post on like Instagram should come out of that, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. And if you figured that, like, I like how you said that, and that you it's got to come from before social media and what you share. And same thing, it's got to come before your concert. If you go to your concert and you're playing for an audience that doesn't know anything about classical guitar, and you don't know what your angle is or what you really like to play or what you're passionate about, the audience isn't going to connect to that passion either.
yeah, for sure.
even if it's heard in the music, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, on social media too, I think another one of the big things, a lot of people are really embarrassed to share
Yeah.
uh, online. And it's even more prevalent now than when I started Instagram, because when I started on Instagram, it's not like it was flooded with classical musicians. Nowadays, it totally is. But like you said, if you figure out your angle and what you're passionate about, and you figure out what it is you have to share, it doesn't become as scary.
Right. I think also it's unfortunately product of like the classical mentality, which is still very stuck in like the refine, 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 and only release something to the public when it's like absolutely perfect. And quality is really important, but at the same time, I think that the like media, social media, internet landscape has changed things to the point where there are certain channels such as Instagram where people don't view it as this end polished product per se, you know.
Right.
And I mean, you should always improve your quality, but I just think a lot of people are missing out on the chance to share what they're doing because they're waiting for their like that moment where they feel like they've perfected to their own standards, and it's just for a lot of people it's just never going to come. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's true. That point does never come. I mean, I think I can speak for everyone that I know that puts themselves out there on social media, is that you're almost never super happy with your final product. You're never thinking like, "Wow, I sound amazing." You never think that. It's always just
Yeah.
like, "Man, I need to get better." By the time you're done recording, that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, and I mean the imposter syndrome is a real thing in the sense that like even if it is already a well polished product, you may not be able to tell because you yourself are so critical with yourself. But beyond that, even if it's not, even if it is a product that some people are going to look at and say, well, you could improve it that way. You know, maybe this could be a bit better, this aspect of the playing or whatever. Very often, that's not the thing they focus on, and if that's the thing they are focusing on, they're probably someone who's used to critiquing other players and maybe not the audience you're looking for. You know, like
Yeah,
like
yeah. Like there's, you know what? It's so difficult because the mindset's good in a lot of ways. Critiquing other players and thinking like who the player is that you want to be. It's so important to our development. Otherwise, you never seek to be anything that's interesting. You know, you
yeah.
think, oh, this player, I really like it. Even having that like idolization is, I think, good for a young player to have. Thinking like, I really want to sound like that, because you're going to work towards it, and likely you'll get something close someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, you never end up feeling like you became that person. You're just yourself, and
Yeah.
um,
But like
yeah,
my point is also that like we there I think we think a lot as if we're playing for other guitarists and other musicians, and while their opinion does matter to some extent because we're a small world, the reality is, for me, I'm gonna hear like some amazing guitarists who definitely deserve to have concert careers, and many of them do, and I'm still gonna find things I nitpick over because I'm a guitarist. I'm a classical guitarist because I'm used to thinking in that manner about my own playing. And so for someone else to say like, "Oh, I'm not gonna post this because there's a few things that maybe someone like that would critique," it just
right.
seems to miss the point to me because like hopefully we're not just trying to play for each other, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
It, yeah, like you said, your favorite players, they're gonna sometime release an album or a video that you're just like, ooh, that missed the mark. But
Yeah.
it's like if that happens, then just forget it. Just post, post whatever that you feel proud of to some degree.
Yeah, or maybe it misses the mark for you, but it doesn't for other people, and so what,
Right.
right? And like, I don't know. Yeah, like it's just the example I try to give to like colleagues of mine who are already, I would say, better than me, but are too afraid to release anything online is like, look at the people who have won the GFA and see how many of those players you think didn't deserve it, as opposed to someone else in the finals because your personal opinion was that this other person should have won. I think
Right.
all of us can name examples of that, and it's
Totally.
like, you know, like, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it goes. Yeah, I mean, people got to figure out, we got to figure out, I got to figure out, everyone's got to figure out what it is that they have to share and how that develops over time, because it's also a tricky thing that, like, at least I went through this. I started my Instagram and posting YouTube videos when I was in my undergraduate. And at that time, the things that I had to share were so, um, I guess the best word for it is progressive, because I was creating videos called progress videos. I'd like share, like, hey, this is one weekend of working on Junto Hinolife or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would post something like 5 weeks later and talk about what I've learned. Whereas like things develop, it's like now you're talking about different things and you've got different things to share.
Yeah.
And your angle changes a little bit.
Of course, yeah. Cool. Well, that's some good wisdom, Evan. I'm gonna move.
As far as reaching a non-guitar audience, that's a really difficult one to go into. I would say.
Yeah.
Are you talking about reaching a non-guitar audience online?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, yeah, just breaking out of kind of like your own little circle, you know, and that, I mean, of course, it's a little bit easier to break out of your own circle into like a wider guitar community circle. I mean, I always make the joke that like we need to get out of the guitar world, but I'm running this podcast, which is mostly viewed by guitarists and has guitarists on, but
no, it's important to please the niche also. You know?
It's true. Yeah, that's true.
But you know, that's what we really care about. That's why, I mean, we love what we do. But reaching, you know what? Here's a couple of nice things about reaching outside, especially on social media. Reaching outside of the classical guitar circle is commenting on things, on styles that you might be interested that isn't what you do, like, or maybe it's what you used to do, and comment on there. Like first, hopefully you have some interesting stuff on your channel or on your page about. You know, maybe you have some nice videos about pieces that the people that you're commenting on's page haven't heard of. And then if you comment relevant things on their posts, like something interesting or something funny, then a lot of times those people go click through and see who you are, and then they might be interested in what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you've got a friend that's in a totally different circle that admires what you do, you admire what they do, and that type of relationship can be built with so many different people through social media, as long as you have genuine appreciation for other styles and what other people do. Because I caution that, because what happens is people think like, oh, this is great. I'm going to write out a comment on my notepads app on my phone that says,
copy paste.
Awesome stuff, man, keep it up, you know?
Yeah, I've gotten so many comments like that, and I'm like, I'm not clicking on this person's profile because they're just obviously copy pasting, you know?
Yeah, it makes you more mad, right?
Yeah.
For me, it does. I think like, okay, this is ridiculous. This is not the way they should be going about it. Of course, it comes from a genuine place. They're trying to, they're just trying to do what's best for them.
Yeah, it's like when someone adds you on Facebook and then they immediately send you a video that's just like a video of their playing. They don't even say hi. It's just like a message, just like, check out my thing. I have a few people on my account, like who there's like literally 2 years of these messages.
Yeah,
and of them being like, do you want my new score? Do you want my new hear my new video? And I'm like, and then like following up with like, hey, did you like it? And I'm like never responding. I'm like, 2 years later, you think you get the hint? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's some real hustlers with that type of thing.
Yeah, but like what not to do if you want to make like genuine contacts, you know?
Right. Like, you know, actually, there's so much that can be done in one sentence of editing. Like,
yeah,
if you have your new composition that you wrote and you really want people to hear it, I have friends that I talk to about this kind of thing all the time. It also makes me laugh, but if you have a new composition and you want other people to hear it, and you're going to go that route of sending everyone a message on Facebook Messenger or Instagram or whatever, all you have to do is send one personal sentence to them before.
Yes.
Look into the profile, listen to what they play. Oh, hey, I saw you playing that Bogdanovich, and this is a similar style to that Bogdanovich. I thought maybe you would like this. Check it out. Then you're almost certainly going to listen to it.
Yeah, like when Nathan and I did our tour of all Canadian music, I had a few composers afterwards who said, hey, I saw you did this tour. I have a duo piece for 2 guitars. Check it out. You know, I know you guys play. Because now we have this project and we want to do more concerts in the future together, even though we live in different continents. But that kind of thing is fine, because I'm like, okay, you know, you realize this is relevant to me. I've received the piece now. I read through it. I take a look at it. I consider it for the future for us. You know, like that kind of thing. So it's not. I'm not saying that yet, but you're right. It just has to be. You have to show that you're not just spamming people, basically.
Yeah, and that goes for connecting with other musicians, but also goes with everything. If you're trying to connect with a brand, if you're trying to, like, you always have to think of personal ways to connect to people.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes for if you're trying to audition for a college and you're trying to get into a guitar program, you don't copy and paste the same message. You say something personal. Oh, yeah, hey, I saw you in Chicago in 2006, and I loved your music, you know?
Yeah. It's like, I think Emma said at one point on some status, she was like, "How not to get at concert with my organization? Don't start the email with dear sir." You know?
Yeah.
How little did you think about this? Like, you didn't even open the website of the organization and be like, "Who's the director?" You know, like,
Exactly.
try to get a name or at least make it gender neutral. I don't know, like, just
Yeah, exactly.
it's not that hard. Like, anyhow.
Matt Hensley of Austin Classical Guitar Society made a Facebook post. It came from a quote in his book that he wrote on nonprofits, but he said something about you never want to end up asking for a concert on a cold call. Like you never want to cold call someone your first email to be about getting a concert. You want it to be some years in the past. So send out those emails now of things like mentioning something that they do or writing them about something. You're like so much more likely to get a concert from having a previous relationship with someone than those cold calls.
Right, yeah. Well, that's the other reason that's the whole reason that we do things like festivals too, is to meet people and develop those relationships before we try to have a mutual, like, and I don't even want to think of it like it sounds so bad it sounds so, I don't know, cynical to say like developing a relationship so that you can get opportunities in the future. I just mean like, we all help each other. So when you go to a guitar festival or go to a competition, first of all, aside from whatever happens in the competition, you want to develop those relationships so that you can have a mutually beneficial relationship with that person in the future, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know what? There's nothing cynical to think about. There's not too much cynical to think about, because if you're confident in the product that you offer, as in your playing, your fan base, your whatever, it is an extremely beneficial relationship, or it should be. Whereas the concert, they give you money to play a concert or whatever the situation is to teach a master class, and then you give them either valuable information, a valuable concert that's going to inspire people, or you're going to be able to sell tickets there.
Yeah, or get people interested in their brand.
What's that?
Or get people interested in their brand and their...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that a lot of times those emails, people start out by saying how much it would help them and how much they would appreciate it, but that's just not how things work when you have a budget. You can't just things and say how much you would love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. You try and tailor the email to be like what you can offer their community. Like when Nathan and I did our tour, we had to be very clear that even though it's all contemporary music, we had thought about their community before sending the email of like, what can we do to make this like relatable, relevant to the people there, showing that you're adaptable. You're not just like, you should do my thing because that's what I have to offer. It's like,
Right. And trying to offer things that people don't typically offer too. Something, an idea.
Yeah, for sure. Anyhow, okay, that's enough on that. I'm gonna ask you some would you rather questions now, Evan.
Okay.
You ready? Okay. So classical guitar, would you rather? And if anyone has any questions for Evan, let us know in the comments. Okay, would you rather change... Okay, so imagine that you start school in September like normal.
Okay.
Choose a whole new program of music for your exam, which is going to be in June or May. And then it comes around to March and you've learned everything. You've like memorized all your articulations, all your fingerings, everything. Would you rather change all of your articulations, fingerings, and dynamics? Or would you rather change half your exam program?
Oh, I'd rather change half my exam program.
Okay, that's not a hard one.
How much in advance is it again?
Like 2 months.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely rather change half my program.
Okay. What if you had to change the whole program?
Well, it depends what you mean by change your fingerings. Change every single fingering has to be something in a different position.
Let's say that it's like basically totally different, but you're convinced that it's a good idea. Like it's not like you're forced to and you hate it. It's like you have a totally new vision for every piece and you just have to like relearn it all, but it's like completely different approach.
I could see a lot of value in that, and that it would be a learning experience. Like, whoa, I have to change every single idea and convince myself that it's different. I like both ideas a lot. I think both would be fun and maybe encouraged at some point to do something like that. But I think I would still rather learn a half of a new program.
Yeah, just because it's less confusing.
is less confusing, and you just get, there's a lot of benefits of that too. You learn more music. You get to do the ideas that you're passionate about and that you're working on. Um, Maybe if it was a full program, if we're talking about like a 60-minute difficult program, maybe I would change the fingerings.
Yeah.
Instead.
Interesting. Okay. Would you rather play a concert with a very small audience that really appreciates what you're doing, or a large audience that is not very responsive?
Of course, the small audience.
Okay.
But that's not a way that that's not the way it always works, and of course, it's not always the way that you make money in a concert.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, there's a larger audience, and people don't appreciate it as much. Like, there's gonna be a percentage of people that really don't like it, and that's fine by me. I don't care if some people don't really connect with it. It's just a statistical thing. Yeah. Actually, I forget what comedian talked about this. It might have been one of them that got in trouble. But someone said they were playing Madison Square Garden. It was like for tens of thousands of people. And, so many people are laughing and having a great time and everything's going well. But the only thing they focus on is that one guy in the audience that's just like, uh-huh.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, of course.
But it's just a statistics. Like, if there's 10,000 people in the audience, there's going to be 100 people that hate what you're doing and really don't want to go there.
Yeah, and that's why you never read the comments.
Yeah, right. So small venues are so much more fun for the guitar in general and the way our instrument works. So that's mainly the reason why I say that. But the larger audience,
yeah,
of course, it's so great in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to choose between those two.
Yeah.
Okay, if you had to learn and memorize in 1 week for a performance, which of these two pieces would you choose?
Okay.
Rodrigo Sonata Giacosa or the Sierra Sonata?
Oh, Giacosa.
Giacosa. You think it's easier in 1 week, really?
Easier is a really difficult word to say there. The Sierra Sonata. Look, I learned that the Salsiato from
Right, yeah.
years ago, and oh my god, that was, I don't know how Phil does it, man. I mean,
yeah,
that is so annoying. I really had such a hard time learning that. And while the piece is really cool, I enjoyed the piece. Memorizing was such a nightmare. It feels like you could play any of the open E, A, or D, and it's gonna sound fine.
Yeah, but like getting it right, yeah.
Getting it, the memorization of that piece alone would take me way more than a week. I don't know if I could do that one.
Are we not live anymore? I'm not seeing a video. Are you seeing a video?
I am, but let me refresh.
Okay. It might be the computer here.
Yep, says still live here.
Okay, good. It's just this computer. Sorry. False alarm. Okay. So Rodrigo. That's going to be tough, though. That Rodrigo's big.
Yeah, I'm not happy about either of those pieces. Memorizing in a week.
Yeah, memorizing and performing.
How about you? What would you pick out of those?
I think I would pick the Sierra Sonata just because of the length. And I feel like I've listened to it more, and I don't know. Rodrigo's just so brutal, especially that piece.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Because the Sierra Sonata, again, like you said, you could kind of fake it more, you know?
Yeah, I've also read through the whole Giacosa before, so I guess that's a little bit easier of a choice. But I can't play it. It's just I've read through it, you know?
Yeah. Okay, next one. Would you rather have uneven tremolo or uneven scales in a concert where you have to use them pretty much equally?
I think one equals the other, but would I rather have, well, in a concert that you'd have to use whichever one you picked frequently?
No, you have to use them both equally, I would say.
Oh, you have to use them both equally. I guess I'd rather have uneven tremolo.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit more easy to disguise, I guess.
Yeah, and only the guitarist will notice that it's uneven, and also all guitarists are sympathetic for uneven tremolo. They're just like, oh yeah, I know how that is.
Right. Yeah. Some days it just happens. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you can have one nail that's weird or something. Would you rather go on stage and play an entire concert in your pajamas? Or would you rather, and like no one's expecting that, or would you rather do it like really sick, like sick as a dog, and you're like coughing and sneezing and your nose is running and stuff?
Oh, geez. Definitely the sick one.
Really?
if no one was expecting me to be in pajamas.
Yeah, that's a bit of a. But let's say you play like the best you've ever played. We'll put it that way.
I mean, here's the thing: on my mind the entire time. Say I'm walking out, like we all fear that situation where you don't have your concert clothes with you and you're backstage or something,
Yeah.
and you all you have is pajamas in your backpack. I feel like it's such an unprofessional look that the better choice is to have the person presenting the concert to say, "Hey, there's been a brief delay," and then you take an Uber to like whatever the nearest store is and change your clothes.
Right, but that's a loophole. That's not part of the scenario, Evan.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would still say dying sick. I've played a concert feeling really sick before, so
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah. My
definitely the pajamas.
my final exam last year, I was like, I came back from Spain and I had this like really bad flu, and yeah, I was like blowing my nose between every piece. It was great,
Oh yeah.
but it was just an exam. I mean, it was open to the public, but there weren't that many people there, so it was fine. But yeah, it's the
Yeah,
worst.
that's fine. Yeah, I mean, the pajamas thing is that it's such a bad look for the person putting you on, the audience.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's just not very professional. But even if you play great, I mean, if you play really, really great, they'll be like, "Wow, like they'll never forget you," you know.
I'm curious about the pajamas. Are we thinking like an all gray pajamas look or something? Because that
I was thinking like polar bears or something.
oh,
You know?
somehow describe it. You're trying to sell it, and you're just like, this program all has to do with Arctic,
Yeah.
the Arctic, and they're like, what? How does this Spanish piece?
Well, Steve could play the Arctic Sonata and get away with it, maybe.
There you go. Yeah,
I would
that
I
works.
would pay to see that actually. Steve in pajamas playing the Arctic Sonata.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate.
That would be great. Okay. All right. Do you want to play some? Do you want to play again, Albanian, or do you just want to do the lightning round and wrap up here?
Lightning round. What's that?
That's like where I say this or this, and you have to answer very quickly.
Oh, cool. I like that. No, I'll play something else if you'd like.
Okay, sounds good. Let's hear the Albanians, and then we'll do the lightning round and wrap up.
Sure. Okay.
By the way, sorry, do you have your original sound on in Zoom?
Oh, I do not.
Okay, because I just noticed in the last piece that it was sounding a bit muffled.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
That means every time I got quiet, it cut out, right?
A little bit, yeah. I was like, wow, his dynamics are so good. Like he's just so his decrescendos are so strong, you know. No,
Yeah,
but
I actually did it on purpose. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. No, but it still sounds great. Don't worry. Okay, so what Albanese is this?
Yeah, this is Pavana Capriccio by Albanese, and it's not too often played. The transcription is by Wolfgang Lendl, who actually passed away a few years ago. He had a video on YouTube, and I loved his transcription. David Russell has a transcription of it also. And Wolfgang sent me a handwritten transcription, like scanned in email. And before he passed away, I was actually able to send him a recording I made of it and said, "Hey, thank you so much. I've played this piece a lot."
Mm-hmm.
And he replied and was really sweet. So it means a lot to me, and I keep it in my program. And
Cool. It's always
It's-
nice when you can make those connections with someone you've never met, you know?
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, and then of course, I wish I could have met him. And I love his recordings and his videos are so awesome. I love the eclectic style that he plays with. And,
Cool. Awesome.
yeah, this piece is it's titled Pavana Capriccio. It's kind of like a whimsical caprice. So there's a lot of like different changes in characters and mood. And yeah, I've been playing this piece probably the longest period of time out of all my repertoire, and it's one of those that I just don't get bored of. I really have a fun time playing it, and it stuck around. Maybe because of the story with Wolfgang Wendell.
Awesome. Cool. Charming. Very nice.
You.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's,
That tremolo section seems like really ingeniously transcribed. Or sorry, that harmonic section.
I was like, whoa.
The
I was
harmonics.
like,
The harmonics.
what?
The harmonics.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. You know, in David Russell's transcription, he goes up an octave and he plays on the high frets, but it's like, it's such it's such a way to make it more like a Spanish guitar piece. You know,
Yeah.
to have a little harmonic section.
It's also really important to think about the strengths of the guitar and how to use them to overcome a register problem. Like, or just change the register sometimes. Like, there's a bunch of Rodrigo music for voice and guitar transcribed by Marcos Otias, which is, and me and Jessica were working on them a bunch because my fiance Jessica's a singer, and we have a duo. And some of the stuff in there were parts where, like, the transcription, he was just keeping the same octave as the piano part, basically, for the guitar, because they're originally for piano and voice, a lot of these transcriptions.
Right.
And it just doesn't work. And, like, Carlo was just making me change the octave all over the place, and it just made a lot more sense. But then there's also places where you have to, like, change the dynamic direction just because of what the guitar can do. So it's a bit tricky, but sometimes we have to, sometimes you just have to change things entirely to make it fit the instrument, right? So...
Yeah, totally. And there's these little character in this one. Speaking of having to change things, and you know, something that's so easy on piano is there's this little
right.
which on the piano is just so easy going on the left hand, but on the guitar you have to and have to do that in the harmonic section.
Yeah.
Can't do the dum dum. It's like almost impossible. So you just take out, you make the articulation there, but there's just no first note. It's just dum dum.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to make the illusion of actually achieving the music too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. That happens a lot. You have to do the same thing all over those Faya pieces for voice and guitar. Well, not for voice and guitar, but those transcriptions. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, how to create the illusion of the same articulation, basically.
Yeah. It's something to work better, too. I mean, just the guitar and voice combination is so nice, you know?
It is, yeah. I mean, we're lucky that now amplification technology has gotten a lot better for bigger voices. It depends on the voice, obviously. But, like, in our case, just because of a very large voice. So there's things that, you know, the guitar has to adapt to, basically, when we take music from other instruments. Yeah.
Definitely, the volume thing is like, it makes, if you have amplification, it makes playing with another person so much more enjoyable. And if you don't, like, it's playing for a master class with a flutist. And basically the only comment that we kept on getting was that I needed to play louder. And it's just like, you feel like you're just slamming away at the guitar.
Yeah, I know there are some people who really believe in just projecting as much as possible, but part of the issue with that is that then you eliminate the dynamic range of the guitar, which is already tiny.
Right.
And
everything feels terrible. The whole experience ends up feeling terrible because you're squeezing more, you're pressing more, and then you're not having fun playing music. You're just trying to play as loud as you can to keep up.
Yeah, and also it's a question of supporting the other instruments, like especially for singers. They need a certain amount of support. And if you have a singer with a larger voice, like you really have to know, well, I guess every instrument, but especially singers because the instrument changes from person to person, you have to know their instrument. And then you have to know, like, what do they need from you? What kind of support do they need? And if they need more support, maybe an amp gives them that, you know?
Right.
So, I don't know. Anyways, it's just an aside, but adapting music to guitar is always interesting, but that seems like a really good transcription.
Yeah. Well, I think I have a lot of fun playing it.
Awesome. Okay, let's do this lightning round, Evan.
Cool.
So you have to answer as fast as possible and as honestly as possible.
Okay.
Okay. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Okay. Oh, nice. Everyone says this. Bogdanovich or Brouwer?
Brouwer.
East or West Coast?
Oh, no. West.
Okay.
West.
West Coast, best coast. Scarlatti or Bach?
Bach.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Solo or chamber?
Solo.
Mammals or reptiles?
Mammals.
Beer or wine?
Um, good wine.
Good wine. Okay. You have to add that caveat. Okay.
I mean, bad beer or bad wine. I guess. Oh no. I guess I'd rather have beer in that situation.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have bad beer than bad wine for sure.
I'd rather have good wine than good beer though.
Okay, there you go. Claudio Abbado or Herbert von Karajan?
I couldn't even hear you.
Sorry, Claudio Abbado or Herbert von Karajan?
I don't know who those are.
Okay, the conductors. Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Okay. Liszt or Chopin?
Chopin.
Nice. Free stroke or rest stroke?
Free stroke.
Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Contemporary or classical romantic guitar repertoire?
Oh, so wait, classical romantic or contemporary? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like classical romantic is one category, let's say, and contemporary, which involves the 20th century also.
Yeah, I'll do that. Classical romantic.
Okay. South Park or The Simpsons?
Simpsons.
Okay. Campanella or regular scales?
Ooh, regular.
Soar or Giuliani?
Soar.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Tremolo or scales?
Scales.
Horowitz or Rubinstein?
Ooh, Rubinstein.
Ah, interesting. Okay. Rodrigo or Tedesco?
Tedesco.
Oh, really? I thought you would say Rodrigo for sure. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
That Rodrigo recording at GSI, maybe we were gonna.
yeah. I love those preludes, by the way, and nobody plays them, but I'm really happy that you're playing them.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that second one's cool. I'm learning the first one right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you played both, but I've seen the video of the second one. But
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well,
cool.
cool.
Thibaut Garcia or Andrea De Vitis?
Ooh. Oh man, I guess I'll say Andre DeVitas.
Okay. Concert or masterclass?
Masterclass.
Nice, interesting. Restoration of the composer's intention or personal interpretation? I know they're not separate really, but
Yeah. Can you say it again?
restoration of the composer's intention or personal interpretation?
Yeah, I mean personal interpretation with respect to with knowing what they're.
You want your cake and eat it too. You want to have your cake.
Fine, personal. I would go with personal choice.
Okay, if it comes down to it. Okay, Bream or Segovia?
Segovia.
Oh, interesting. Wow. I think you're the first one. You should get an award for being the first one to say Segovia.
Bream's such a sweetheart. He's an easy answer.
That's true. Also, Segovia was kind of like a bit intense, so it was easy to be like annoyed with him, I guess.
Yeah, on the other side of it. But I mean, I just when I loved I just love Segovia's recordings and
Yeah.
appreciate it more now than I used to. So.
Yeah, I mean, of course you can say the same for Bream, but I'm just really grateful to Segovia for all the repertoire, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you can't pretend that he didn't create or he wasn't the impetus for, like, a huge chunk of the repertoire.
Yeah.
Mountains or beaches?
Oh, mountains.
Ooh. Martin Dila or Zoran Dukic?
Oh, two totally different players.
Yeah, I know.
I would pick Marching, I guess.
Okay, cool, nice. Well, I broke my promise to you, and we've gone slightly over the 2-hour mark. So, do you have any last things you want to say or plug or? Oh, we didn't really talk about Ex-Aequo, but.
Oh, we didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's talk about it.
Yeah. What's this project about? What's up? What's coming up for you guys? We had Phil and Hannah on. I mean, I had Phil and Hannah on, so we know a bit. But like, can you tell us what's new or what's coming up?
Yeah, I think you had Phil and Hannah on, which are the other co-founders of Ex-Aequo, but you had them on probably in the middle of the competition. Was it going on?
I think it was right before the first round, but it was like people had started submitting videos already.
That's right. It was already a really busy time because I hardly even was able to watch their interview. I think I was probably watching videos. Yeah, we had 145 competitors in this first competition, so it was an insane time. But yeah, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and it's this thing that we decided to form basically to promote education and performance and audience education and we're just doing a bunch of different projects, and of course now the projects are all aimed online because that's all there is. We can't go perform places, but that's coming up soon. But yeah, we've this past thing was this competition that we ran. We had 4 Augustine Strings Grand Prize winners and tons of other, people chipped in for awesome prizes. But we're shifting our focus to some other things now. Obviously, we can't do a competition every single week. And one of the things I'm really passionate about that we're building right now is the guitar family tree.
Ah,
I don't know if
yes.
you mentioned that. But yeah, we're doing this family tree of where basically everyone on the website, the Ex-Aequo can go in and put their lineage basically of like who their teacher is or former teachers were, and then who they studied with, and as far back as possible. And we're going to build this into one interactive map to where we can go back as far as possible.
That's cool.
And yeah, one of the things we're really looking for now are people with unusual or like less common. Like of course, the United States and most of the European family tree is like, or like like the Italian, the Spanish, the German. Those are all really easy to track down because there's so many people that know so many details about that. But for instance, my good friend Drago Chilie, he's from Romania. He's from Romania, and then the Romanian story, like unless you're from Romania or you've played series of concerts there, it's so hard to know that lineage. So we're trying to get people that especially know about really specific countries to submit that information so that we can see that in a visual map.
Cool.
Would
Well,
that be-
everyone, it's on the website, right? I think I filled it out actually. I think I've stumbled on it on your website and then filled it out, but it's there,
I
right?
think, yeah, it's on the website. You can submit.
Okay, so everybody go to Ex-Aequo.com. I don't know if I put it in the. Oh, I did put it. I put it in the description, so it's in the description there. Find the website and fill this out and share it with people. Like I'll put it in the group chat with the guitarists in the conservatorium in Maastricht, because
Awesome.
we have like students from, I think there's like out of the 16 students or whatever, there's like 10 nationalities or something. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, Santeri. Yeah.
Santeri. Yeah, he mentioned that he was your neighbor in Spain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
See, he would be an awesome person. He knows all the Finnish stuff, which I feel like
exactly. Yeah,
the people most that we've gotten the most things from are all the same stuff. It's like all the Americans, and it's like we know people to ask that could like fill out that entire thing for us in the first place. Whereas the people from these really specific countries where you might know the entire guitar lineage, just one person might know it all. That would be
yeah.
that stuff's so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so everyone share it with your like classes and stuff. If you're studying with in a specific place or you know a lot of guitarists, share it with them.
Yeah. Totally.
That's super cool. Awesome. Well, we'll keep an eye out for what Ex-Aequo is doing in the future. I think it's a really cool concept that you're pushing forward education and awareness of classical guitar.
Yeah, it's a fun thing, and we've got all these awesome artists that are also part of the group, and we've just we can't wait for everything to be opened back up and to organize concerts around this idea and to be able to reach audiences. Another one of the cool things that we're excited about is we have this idea of making the competition scene a little bit more productive for everyone, in that when you go to a competition, there's so much lost value in that you have all these amazing competitors coming from everywhere and then just playing for judges, and then most of them are
Yep.
eliminated in the first round.
Yeah.
And then what's the tradition? Oh, you go to the bar, you drink, you get to know people, blah, blah, blah. But there's so many more productive things to do at that time. And one of the things that we're going to be releasing in this project is a collaboration with a bunch of different festivals around the United States at first, and then likely Europe, and that we have the registration fees waived in exchange for them to go and performing in the community. So, it's a
Yeah.
very low amount of money to get paid, of course, but the fact that your registration fee alone can be waived for going to practice your competition set, basically, at a nearby school or nursing home or other university in the area where the competition isn't at, or high school, these types of things. That's where we can get the community involved. That's not the guitar players
Yeah.
to actually come to these events, and then they hear you play, and then you say, oh, but wait till you hear, Agnello Desiderio is going to be there, and it's going to be amazing. He's this super incredible Italian guitarist. Then they're like, oh, okay, that sounds awesome, and then maybe they come and
Yeah.
you know
I
and
always the festivals I really appreciate festivals that provide performance opportunities for everybody in the festival. Like Renee's festival in Spain, the Camino Arts thing was like this, Like
right,
when Jessica and I went, we went as a duo, but we also met a lot of other people there. But like for example, after the festival, we were sticking around for a few extra days, and Sergio Hernandez was there too. And Renee said, "Oh, there's this guy who's wondering if anybody can play a concert like 2 days after the festival in this nearby town." And we happened to be staying, so we went and did that,
yeah,
And also he organizes in the festival that every night you play for audiences that come in, and all the many of the participants get the chance to play. And I think that, I don't know. And even within the competition, I always prefer when the rounds are open, even the first round, to the
yeah,
public, because I mean, of course, we come to partly to compete and try and win a prize, but at the end of the day, it matters a lot more that you get heard, even for your career, in the sense of like at these festivals, there's often people who organize events, who run concert series, and I've gotten concerts in the past from festivals where I didn't win a prize, but I was heard by.
they get invited,
Yeah,
right,
so not to that exact festival, but I mean like someone in the community who has a connection or who runs a series, and they hear you in the semifinals or whatever. So I don't know. I always think a competition should be a stage for people to get heard more so than a way to win a prize.
definitely. And on that subject, it got me thinking, because I was playing this. I was playing in Grand Rapids, the Grand Rapids Community College concert series, and I was going around with John Marshall, the guy who organizes that series, and he was telling me about in Michigan how or in Grand Rapids, there's this huge art festival that happens. I think it's like every 2 or 4 years or something.
Hmm.
And the way the art festival works is that there's like several places in the city where like maybe it's like in huge warehouses that are rented out, kind of like the NAMM show or a home show, something like this, where there's all these artists set up, right? And people come around, and there are judges that give prizes, but the attendance is so huge by the public and by artists around the world that you're not going there thinking like, okay, I'm going to snag that prize. I'm going to snag it, and it's going to be huge for me in my career. You're not thinking about that. You're thinking about how you're going to engage with the audience, how you're potentially going to sell your art, how you're going to influence young people who are around you that are seeing
Hmm.
your art and being really inspired. And in the future, that would be such a really nice way to do competitions, is that it's just a part of the event that you go to. And, there's a lot of people doing amazing organizations of competitions and festivals. And a few really nice key examples of people who are doing it well. But I think with our organization, we could make it an even better place to where this is more of the idea of like, all these other performance opportunities. And then the competition, if you win it, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not, that is what everyone is there for, you
Yeah.
know?
It also kind of breaks us a little bit more out of this like playing for each other kind of thing as
Exactly.
guitarists, right? Again, not that that's bad, but just that like if you can incentivize more performance opportunities in the festival within the community, it'll help the festival too. I mean, like these festivals need their community attendance to be a part of.
Like, and the people that are organizing these festivals are often professors at the university that's organizing the festival.
Yeah,
They have so much on their hands already.
yeah, exactly.
It's impossible for them to set up stuff like
Yeah,
that. And also, they're likely only allowed to, under certain terms, set things up at the university,
right.
or like some place that they cooperate with. But if you have others organizing things in the city, then it's spread a lot better. Then
Yeah, I don't mean to be like negative about festival organization because I've never run one, and I don't. I mean, I've seen peripherally how much work it is, and it scares me. Uh,
oh, yeah,
but like
sure,
just that, I think it's a great initiative because it might help some festivals get some access to a new thing they can add that they don't necessarily have to take on themselves. So
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Anyhow, cool, awesome. Well, thank you, Evan, so much for all of your ideas and for your playing and for coming on. It's been great.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a real blast.
Good.
I'm done sweating from the music quiz. It's
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
I was more about that than playing guitar, man.
Yeah. I need to mention some things. I'm so bad at doing this, but I always forget to mention, if you want to support the stream, there are links in the description. I finally opened a Patreon. You can give a small amount a month, or you can make a one-time donation. And if you make the donation now, some of it will go to the artist. So it's a good way to support everybody in this situation. But more importantly, you can also find all the archives with all the episodes on YouTube if you want to listen. There's been a lot of cool artists, and there's a lot of cool ones coming up. So stay tuned, and hopefully you enjoy what you hear, and just share it with your friends, that kind of thing.
Totally. And so much props to Mike for creating this this opportunity for everyone to come on during this time and speak and talk about their ideas. Everyone's bubbling with ideas when they're cooped up at home and they're
Exactly.
thinking about what they're going to do next.
Thank you, Evan. Yeah.
People behind their phones watching this, or computers, they don't realize how much work it is to set up something like this. All the messages you send before, the streaming software. It's not just like we're popping up on here last minute and chatting. So
Yeah. Thanks,
thank
Evan.
you so much for having me.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's nice to see that a lot of people are game to do it. It's been really fun, actually, and I feel like I get to hang out with a lot of my guitar friends and meet some people who I've kind of known peripherally but haven't really talked to. So
Sure.
it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun. But I mean, it's making content. It takes time, but it's worth it. It's nice, and I get to connect with the audience. So everybody, please tune in again every Friday and Tuesday. Who's coming up? I have coming up next is 1 second. I have my document here. I think on Friday is Pablo Villafuerte, who was giving a lot of sass during the game today.
Oh yeah.
So Friday, May 8th is Pablo Villafuerte, and then May 12th, Tuesday, I have Jacob Sayer, who studied with Daniel Bolshoi when I was there at UBC, but actually plays a lot of fingerstyle guitar and writes his own music now. So it's going to be a little bit of a departure from the norm, but he's like classically trained guitarist who plays steel string fingerstyle compositions of his own.
Cool.
So it's going to be really cool. And then I think next week I also have Renee Izquierdo coming on Friday. So
Awesome.
stay tuned for all that. Yeah.
You can have him play the K1 live.
Yeah, actually, I should stipulate that, like, I don't have a contract or anything. Maybe I should send him one and be like, you can only come on if you play K1.
You should put on a recording of his for the music quiz and see if he catches himself.
Well, last week he got himself when I had Rosie Bennett on, and I played a recording of his. Or was it Rosie or was it someone else? I can't remember. I think it was Rosie, and he guessed his own recording, so that's good in the comments.
It would be so awkward if you guessed incorrectly.
Yeah, I was like, you recorded that, man. Anyhow, okay, thanks, Evan. We're gonna stop here, but
Yeah.
see
Thank
you,
you so
everyone.
much.
Thanks for listening.